Topic is March Madness, and we're going to have a quick outlook for 2025. So a little bit about March Madness. March Madness is NCAA's cash cow for basketball. In 2024, they had over 14 million viewers in total. A little bit about the tournament structure for everybody who's not that familiar with it. It consists of 68 Division 1 teams. We have a single elimination tournament format, 7 rounds of national championship, and on Selection Sunday, which is coming up on March 16th, NCAA gonna publish the whole bracket where teams are put into different regions: East, South, West, Midwest, and from there the winner is gonna move up to semifinals and ultimately final. So for today, we're gonna have an investigative look beyond the glory. We're gonna cover 2 different articles, and we're gonna bring in 2 experts who's gonna tell us a little bit about those articles. Then we're gonna bring in 2 other experts who's gonna tell us if those articles actually cover everything or what they're missing. First article is one from NBA Hoops Analysis. It covers the story of underdogs in NCAA's March Madness. It is gonna tell us about key attributes of success for underdogs, if there's kind of like a formula for underdogs, how much strategy and other factors factor in it, and we're gonna look at historic tournaments upsets. Part is an CNN's opinion piece, and it's gonna look beyond the glory and gonna look more negatively of what's going wrong with the NCAA system. It's gonna tell us a little bit about Spencer Hartwood, who is a more famous case. He had a lawsuit against the NCAA. Then we're gonna cover NIL deals, and we're gonna have a look at if the NCAA is actually compensating its athletes as they should, or if it's more like slavery, if they kind of take advantage of specific groups of athletes. So for today, we're gonna start up with our expert.
The first article we're going to analyze is called The Harsh Reality of March Madness and was published by CNN. This article sheds light on the often overlooked exploitation of college athletes during March Madness. The article highlights the strong contrast between the NCAA's enormous revenue during March Madness, amounting to billions, and the lack of compensation for the athletes who make all that possible. While fans are engrossed in the excitement of the tournament, many college players face significant challenges. These include struggle with their education, mental health issues, and the risk of injuries, all while receiving little or even no financial support during this time. The article emphasizes how the NCAA's policies maintain a system where athletes are treated as unpaid laborers, despite the immense profits generated by their performances. This exploitation is particularly pronounced for black athletes, who make up a large portion of college basketball players and often come from economically disadvantaged backgrounds. The tone of the article is strongly opinion-based, employing critical language to draw attention to the injustices within the college sports system. The author uses emotional appeals to highlight the unfairness faced by these young athletes, painting a vivid picture of their struggles. By focusing on their hardships, the article effectively engages readers and prompts them to reconsider the morality of how the college sports system works. In summary, the article serves as both a critique for the NCAA and a call to action to greater awareness and reform in the treatment of college athletes, urging us not to ignore the human cost behind the spectacle of March Madness.
Critique for the CNN article is that it mainly focuses on how student athletes, especially black ones, are not treated fairly and aren't paid for their work. It doesn't really show the other side of the argument, the perspective of those who defend the NCAA or believe the current system is fair. So while the current article makes a strong case for the athletes, it doesn't provide much of the opposite view. Number 2, does it use credible sources or rely on emotional appeal? The article does use good sources like legal cases and quotes from experts to support its points. These help make an argument strong and reliable. It also includes personal stories like Spencer Haywood's fight against the NBA rules, which add an emotional touch. The emotional angle isn't overdone, though. It helps to explain why the issue matters. Number 3, is it effective at raising awareness? Yes, the article does a great job of raising awareness about the unfair treatment of college athletes. It explains the history of the problem and how little has changed over time. By connecting the struggles of athletes in the past to what's happening today and helps readers understand how serious the issue is. The author also makes a strong point at the end tying the treatment of athletes to larger social issues, like the fight for racial justice, which makes the reader think more deeply about the problem. Conclusion. The article does a good job of highlighting the unfair treatment of college athletes, especially black ones. It uses strong sources and emotional stories to make its point. However, it would have been better if it showed the other side of the argument too. Overall, it does a great job of making the readers think about the issue and care about the issue.
NBA analysis takes a deep dive into March Madness upsets and why they are so important to the overall playing of March Madness. NBA analysis defines upsets as lower seeded teams that defy expectations and advance further into the tournament. So, for example, while watching the tournament, if you see, from what they say, an 11 seed or lower upset a big team, that is considered an upset. Not only are upsets just known as small teams upsetting big teams, but they also have to battle against statistical probabilities. For example, last year in Oakland's upset against Kentucky, Kentucky was favored by plus 17.5 in terms of the spread, which ended up being proven false as Kentucky got upset to the Oakland Golden Bears. Upsets are one of the most important parts of March Madness, in my opinion, because they are a huge reason why we watch. They also allow small teams to become bigger and generate great revenue for themselves. Teams that I think you should look out for more in this year's March Madness are the Akron Zips, Utah State Aggies, New Mexico Lobos, Drake Bulldogs, VCU Rams, and the Grand Canyon Antelopes, plus more. There'll always be many teams that will surprise you. Why are upsets so important? NBA analysis states that upsets are important and happen because of the chemistry and psychological difference between teams. An example of chemistry would be last year's NC State with DJ Burns on the edge of not even making almost not even making the tournament to making it and having to fight their way against outstanding teams such as Duke. They used their chemistry together to fight and go all the way to the Final Four. They also state that psychological is a huge difference as many of the big teams go in with big heads or scared, thinking that they are the best team in the tournament just to be proven wrong by a small team such as St. Peter's. There have been many teams that have created this huge trend of upsets in March Madness. For example, teams such as the 2018 Loyola Chicago Ramblers, the 2020 St. Peter Peacocks, 2018 UMBC Retrievers, and 2017 Xavier have all paved the way for small schools and other upsets, creating a great trend to follow. So now what is the tone and style of this NBA analysis article? The article brings a very neutral and fact-based tone into their writing. They use many different factual examples to explain upsets such as 2018 UMBC being the first 16 seed to ever be a 1 seed, which was Virginia. They are able to break down and describe the analytical part of the upsets and the definition of upsets in terms of March Madness. They break down and describe historic upset runs, including the 8-seeded Villanova team that ended up winning the entire tournament, which is still today the highest seed to ever win a tournament.
Thank you for this insightful feedback. So let's take an overview. So the key takeaways from the March Madness underdog, which we can't take away, is those upsets defy the odds. We have historic upsets which do not make sense statistically. Mental toughness is crucial part, as well as resilience, confidence, and team belief. And those are the only options which could challenge top-ranked opponents. Um, we need innovative and unconventional tactics in order to create opportunities to defeat bigger teams. It's beyond basketball. So those stories are so great because they are more like a symbol of perseverance. It changed the basketball culture. Underdog success gives competitive or shows competitive potential, and it gives hope to smaller programs. It's more like a David versus Goliath in action. Everybody just cheers for the little underdog. And let's move on with the key takeaways from the CNN's perspective. So there are a lot of hidden struggles behind March Madness. While it generates billions, the NCAA tournament is a big revenue driver. But still, those collegiate athletes, they do not get the compensation they should. There's a big race labor inequality, because black people have been historically undervalued in basketball. Um, we have a lot of rules which limit athletes' autonomy, like the 1 year scholarship and past restrictions, like the one in the lawsuit where you have to stay 4 years in college. Um, so yeah, I already mentioned the Spencer Haywood legal battle challenge, which was very important, but it only showed us what a monopoly the NCAA really is. Mm, Other new reforms, the NIL deal, are great opportunities, income opportunities, but we can't ignore the fact that it's just a handful of players who get most of the NIL money. And it's a fight which continues to grow and something which we will still see in the future. We're not in the end, and we have to demand labor rights and financial security for athletes because it's just fair looking at what big of a revenue they get. Thank you guys for listening. I hope you enjoyed the video.